Welcome back, Buccaneers fans, to another episode of Hear the Cannons, presented by BucsGameday.com. Sports Illustrated's one and only website strictly relegated to covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My name is Caleb Skinner at CHS Null on X. I'm a writer and reporter here at BucsGameday.com. Along with me, as always, is our lead editor, River Wells, at River H. Wells on X. Things have been, it's been a busy day. There's been some news that has come out that I haven't been able to pay attention to. I moved into my new joint here in St.
He's in the new crib, ladies and gentlemen. Here he is.
If it was more put together, I'd, go, Pimp My Ride, what was the house version of Pimp My Ride?
Like every HGTV show on air. Yeah.
We was going to go full throttle there, but not quite put together yet. Just got into the office. So you guys bear with me while I've got, the neon lights, go Bolts, got the lightsaber there as well. So, Star Wars just passed May the 4th be with you. So shout out to you.
Andor's going crazy right now.
Yeah, big stuff. Big stuff. But without further ado, River, we've talked, plenty of times about what happened with the Buccaneers. We did an instant reaction when it came to Emeka Egbuka. You weren't there, unfortunately, to be able to talk with us about that, but very interesting. You got to talk a little bit about him in our last podcast, which was last week at noon Wednesday, just completely covering our recap of the 2025 NFL Draft. Buccaneers taking 2 wide receivers, capping off, bookending, if you will, the draft there for them and then doubling up along the defensive line and doubling up in the secondary as well with 2 cornerbacks, who are 2 types of players. But with that being said, there's some big news coming up. There's big stuff, especially with the Buccaneers rookies coming up this Friday. But there's been some other news that have come out. A former Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl champion, if you will, a quite productive player when he was in Tampa Bay, Jason Pierre-Paul, also played at USF here in Tampa, so very familiar with the area as well. Went on TMZ, did an interview, a sit down with them, and it came out that he thinks he's in shape to be able to, make a comeback to the league at his age, which not quite sure if he's going to be able to do that based off his production over the past 4 years and not really seeing a whole lot of time, especially last season. But what do you make of that? Do you think the Buccaneers could possibly be in on this? I mean, I know the Bucs took Elijah Roberts, but they listed him as a defensive lineman, but they also took David Walker in the draft and then signed Hassan Reddick in free agency to kind of bolster that edge rushing unit. Should the Bucs be interested in? Because there's still analysts out there that, poke at the Buccaneers saying that they still need an edge rusher.
The Bucs kind of did just try this with Shaq Barrett, a similar sort of thing, and it didn't work out for them there. And JPP, I think looking at it here, we've got 5 sacks since 2021, which is not incredible, especially he didn't play last year. He was on both the Saints and the Dolphins in 2023, just hopping from practice squads and like getting called up. And so I think at his age at 36, it'd be pretty tough. He might find a suitor somewhere, given that edge rushers are such a premium nowadays. And you can always try them out and see what you got. But the Bucs specifically, like you mentioned, got David Walker in there, got Hassan Reddick. Yeah, Diaby's coming up. They like Chris Braswell. They want to see what he can do in year 2. They got Anthony Nelson back. They got guys like Marquise Watts and Jose Ramirez that they like as well. So I would not foresee them bringing back a JPP, the hometown, for college and then in the pros, both playing in Tampa Bay at both those levels. But I don't think that reunion's in the cards necessarily. I don't think the Bucs need him. And if he wants to play, which I'd be surprised if he's able to do so, he would want to go to a team that has room for him, and Tampa Bay does not. So best wishes to JPP, really cool dude, played in the Tampa Bay area forever, the college and pro levels. I'm sure a lot of Bucs fans are super grateful for what he was able to do and helping them win a Super Bowl. In the Super Bowl year, 9.5 sacks. He had 12.5 in 2018. So pretty productive when he was at the Bucs, but I think those days are a little bit over, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's kind of a reach in my opinion, especially for Tampa Bay and what they're able to do. But I mean, I won't put it out of the question that a team that's kind of desperate for that, looking for some pass rushing of some sort or getting some depth, especially
Yeah.
Maybe mid-season when guys start to get injured and if he's still staying in shape, which he says he is. He says he's got a six-pack or a six-pack of abs for the first time since he was a rookie. So
Right.
I mean, if he's staying in shape, which he always seems to, have been that type of player to stay in shape, then he could possibly end up in a team. But I agree. I still don't understand why these analysts keep saying the Bucs' biggest need right now is, at the edge rushing position. I think for me, it's more so inside linebacker. Give us your thoughts on that real quick before we move on, River.
Yeah, it's definitely inside linebacker at the moment. Edge rusher, you've got that room can always be bolstered no matter who you are. And the Bucs still have a lot of projects there. People talk about David Walker, who really productive prospect in college, but still came in the later rounds. Chris Braswell didn't do much with the snaps he had last year, so that's still an unproven commodity going into year two. Anthony Nelson's a decent rotational guy. But that's what he is. So that back end still needs to prove that they can produce in a rotation, but at the same time, guys like Yaya and Hassan Reddick and very front loaded, so you have that initial rotation there. And at inside linebacker, man, it's interesting. We've talked about this before on the pod, but I think some Bucs fans are kind of just convinced that Servasti Dennis is just going to slide right in there and just be the answer. And I don't think that's a proven commodity at all. I mean, he had flashes of good play, but he's been hurt. And so it's hard to know if those flashes were how he plays all the time or if maybe it's an inconsistent thing and we just saw the good side of him before he was injured. So I think they definitely want to explore another inside linebacker because they didn't address that in the draft. It was a pretty weak inside linebacker draft this year. So they didn't like the guys they got at the top end. Didn't get any guys in the later rounds. So I think you got to do a little bit more than Anthony Walker Jr. But we'll see how free agency goes from here on out. They could look at some other options there. They could wait until training camp, but there's a few things they can do. But I would be surprised if they didn't get one more option to kind of help them.
Would be nice.
It would be. It would be.
Considering the injury history with Boss there. So
yeah.
Very hard to disagree. But before we move on, if you guys are watching on Facebook or if you're watching on X, head over to YouTube, comment, shoot us some questions if you guys have any of those either. That's how you get them on the show. Like, subscribe. That's how you'll be notified whenever we do go live. We appreciate all the watches, all the views, all the questions, all the comments as well. We take them very seriously, and majority of them we do end up getting to. So if you guys have anything for us, head over to YouTube, BucsGameday right there in the search bar, and you'll be able to come on here. Just shoot us whatever you're thinking, and we can go from there. But let's move on to our next topic here, River. An interesting just tidbit that happened over this past week. Tyreek Hill, who's kind of been up and down in just kind of the news in general. I mean, the whole thing with, another baby mama, girlfriend, baby, that whole shebang happening and everybody freaking out about that, to almost verbally, publicly requesting that he might not want to be in Miami anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody possibly wanting Tyreek Hill at this point of his career, given the money and all that. But he goes out there and he releases his top 5 quarterbacks. And I'm going to name them off for you, and then you tell me what pops out to you the most, whether it's somebody not being on there or somebody being on there for a different team. Lamar Jackson.
Of course.
Okay. Josh Allen.
Very fair.
Patrick Mahomes.
Big time.
Baker Mayfield.
Interesting.
And Joe Burrow.
Joe Shiesty himself.
So
yeah.
I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, I think the fact that my co-host here, Caleb, is referring to is that Tua Tagovailoa, who is Tyreek Hill's own quarterback, is not on this list, which, to be fair, that's fair. He's not a top 5 quarterback, right? But neither is Baker Mayfield, in my opinion, and here he is on the list. But hey, listen, it's hard not to love Baker Mayfield, right? 41 touchdowns in a regular season. He's out there slinging the rock. He feeds his boys. What's not to love about that? So he's a little jealous. I understand. No, yeah, I would not call Baker Mayfield a top 5 quarterback. I think he's played the best football of his career, these last 2 years. And I think he's done a lot of really good stuff in Tampa Bay. He's used his legs very well. He was very accurate last year. I do think, and this is a big point of discussion among Bucs fans and pundits, and people have differing opinions on either side of it, but I do think the turnovers are a problem, and it's not just the turnovers. Led the league in picks, led the league in fumbles, and he recovered most of those fumbles, but those are still negative plays that you're generating whenever you do that, right? So even if you just fumble it and you fall on it, or you drop it and you get back on it, that could be either no gain there, or you could lose yards on that. And
anyway, he was down. So
yeah, so at any point, I think that's a big thing that Baker Mayfield has to fix, and I think he's shown he could be more accurate. He's shown that his incredible arm, is still very powerful. He's shown that he can maneuver outside the pocket. He's shown that he's really good under duress and can make really good changes in the can, and he can really see the field like a field general. But like the one thing he hasn't proven to himself yet, and to everyone yet, is that he can, in fact, protect the football and limit these turnovers. And that's a big thing he's got to do next year. And if that trend continues next year, I think Baker Mayfield's a very good quarterback, but that would really prevent the Bucs, I think, from taking that next step into the upper echelon, because you can't have a game like that in the playoffs, right? And to be fair, against Washington, he didn't have a game like that. But that is inconsistencies. He's had some iffy games last year. The Panthers game in Carolina comes to mind. You got to be able to fix that. But yeah, otherwise, really generous of Tyreek Hill to say that.
It's just you thinking like when you're a wide receiver, everybody's thinking, oh, he's gonna throw his boy in there. Like no matter how good he is,
exactly
how bad he is,
not the case.
You gotta throw your own guy in the top 5. It just didn't happen.
He said that too is the most accurate quarterback in the NFL for a few years now. So something changed there, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, I have no idea. Baker being in there, very interesting. I get probably why he threw Baker in there, because I mean he's thinking, Baker is my quarterback. I'd be probably balling,
yeah, I mean he likes when people
tons of touchdowns, which leads us to this comment here, or question, excuse me, from Richard Taroka from our YouTube. Will Baker have another 40+ touchdowns in 2025, mimicking what he was able to do last season?
That's fun. I think Baker Mayfield could have a very good season without going 40+ again, because that's tough to do. So I guess my immediate instinct is no, but even then, if you hit that high 30s mark, I think you're cooking. And it's going to come down to Josh Grizzard, that's another kind of Servasti Dennis situation. I think where some Bucs fans are expecting him to sit right in and just continue the success that Liam Cohen had in his offense immediately. And that's not a given, right? He's got to be able to call plays full time. He's going to have a different play calling philosophy than Liam Cohen did. The terminology will probably be extremely similar. The plays will be extremely similar. The overall vibe probably will be, but he's got to be able to make those good decisions and make those play calls and take those risks like Liam Cohen did. And if he can do that, I mean, I don't see why not. You got Emeka Buga in there now, who's probably going to be wide receiver 3 over Jalen McMillan, which kind of sucks for Jalen McMillan. But offensive weapons, the whole offense coming back. If Chris Godwin can really be even like 3/4 as good as he was last year, he's on track to be. He was incredible last year before he got hurt. I mean, that's huge, right? And man, if they can get Bucky going from the jump instead of waiting half the season to kind of give him those starting reps like they did last year, and then from the onset have their offensive identity with Bucky Irving, it could be good, man. It could be really good. And I think you want a top 10 offense, right? Top 5's lofty, and it would be amazing if they could do that again. But top 10 pays the bills, scores points, especially coming off another offensive coordinator. And I think if they can do that, and their defense can really improve the way it needs to, because it really does need to improve. If they can get that defense firing too, then that's a contending team, So a lot of moving parts, a lot of 0-point failures, but if everything gets going, like the idea is you could be seeing Baker throw a lot of touchdowns. You see the Bucs win a lot of football games.
Yeah, and I think it's hard to disagree with this. him going again for 40 plus touchdowns, because the only thing that happened is their offense got a little bit more better. Like your offense got better. Like you
Oh yeah.
also like you re-signed Chris Godwin, who obviously is coming off a gruesome, dislocated ankle that was
Yeah.
horrifying to watch. But Mike Evans still putting up 1,000 yards, still doing Mike things. We saw Jalen McMillan explode at the end of last year, who possesses that big playability, if you will, from the wide receiver standpoint. And then Emeka Egbuka is just an overall solid wide receiver too. That he's been graphed as the Chris Godwin type of player when it comes to the wide receiver position. And then not only that, but you had Tez Johnson in the 7th round of the NFL draft, who is probably one of the more electrifying guys in all of college football. Not the
Right.
speediest, not the quickest, but plays faster than he actually is, and albeit the smaller body, but plays bigger than that as well. Best friends with Bucky. Probably going to fit in very, very well into this locker room as well. So
Definitely. Kick
I don't
returner and have
I
some
don't see
value.
it. Yeah, and then you add into it his return capabilities as well, which can set the offense up in even better position than what we were able to see last year. So, or maybe the past 2 years even. But great segue there for us, because the Baker thing led over to you speaking about offensive coordinator Josh Grizzard in his first season as the Buccaneers offensive coordinator, taking over for Liam Cohen. Served as the team's passing game coordinator last season after spending multiple years with the Miami Dolphins. And my question here for you is, you had already spoke on him a bit and how important he's going to be, and how a lot of people just expect him to keep rolling and rolling and rolling. Liam did a fantastic job. I think he was probably beyond ready for an OC position, which is probably why you saw him be able to get an OC job so quickly in the NFL.
Oh yeah.
But what are the expectations that you have from Josh Grizzard in his first year as the offensive coordinator? And then what do you think the expectations will ultimately end up being as a whole from the fan base as well?
Yeah, man. I think to expect him to be Liam Cohen is a lot. And that would be nice. The Bucs would have gone 3-for-3 on that one. But I expect a little bit of growing pains, This is the first time that Grizzard's called plays, and that worked out well the last 2 times. But even then, Liam Cohen had a little bit of play calling experience last time with the Rams, for a few games. So there's that as well to keep in mind. This is Grizzard's first big introduction to it. He's going to use a familiar offense, and that's good for Baker Mayfield and the rest of the offense. They don't have to learn anything crazy. But again, I am curious to see just what his philosophy is, how he takes what Liam Cohen does, and how he puts his own unique spin on it. And we talked to him in the offseason, and we mentioned, he came from Josh McDaniel in Miami, right? He worked under Josh McDaniel. A lot of at snap, in snap motion, pre-snap motion, guys going around everywhere. A lot of, Mike Evans calls it eye candy. And I'm curious to see if he does the same amount that Liam Cohen did, because Liam Cohen really brought that dimension, because David Canales was not really into that whole thing when he was in Tampa Bay. Or if he does it,
football. He was just like, we're going to play football.
Yeah, exactly. And not a lot of changes at the line for Canales as well. Not a lot of plays in the can, kind of like Liam Cohen did, which plays in the can for those who don't know. When you go up to the offensive line as a quarterback, you'll have a play, and then you'll have another play that you can choose from, that the quarterback can decide kind of where to run.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you think about that, like, people might go, oh, why did Liam Cohen do this? Why did he run this many times in a row? Sometimes during games, he'd get those questions. Why did he pass this many times? And in this offense, Baker Mayfield can make that decision, right? He can check out of a pass and do a run, or vice versa. So sometimes when you have these really weird, like, drives that go on, and they run a lot of times in a row, or they don't run when they should be burning clock, that can sometimes just be Baker Mayfield checking out of a play. So something to keep in mind whenever you watch a modern NFL offense, because a lot of them have that sort of variability in it. So I'm curious to see kind of what element he brings to this offense, and I think he's going to need to bring one because Liam Cohen's offense was excellent. It was top 5, but you got to try and maintain that top 5 status. That's really hard. Like I mentioned, I don't know if he's going to be able to do that, but as long as you can get close, you're cooking with grace. That's all you need to do. I expect him to kind of get in the rhythm, figure out which plays he really liked from last year, kind of incorporate his own new philosophies, and we'll see if he is as potent as Liam Cohen was. And that would be huge if he was. I'm not expecting him to be, but I think it'd be really good if he was able to kind of get close and get within that sort of striking distance to what Liam was able to do, because he did some incredible stuff.
Yeah, and I think the meshing of the two offenses is going to be really fun to watch. How is he going to implement that? Like when, I think more specifically, more so than how, because you know it's going to happen. It's just going to be when is he going to do that? Is it going to be at the goal line? Is it going to be, on first downs? Is it going to be on third downs? Like where is it going to happen to where teams and defenses are going to be like, whoa, whoa, like what's going on? And like it's going to become, which is a hard thing to do. It's a really difficult thing to do in the NFL is to make teams guess. And yeah, Richard back on YouTube. It is wild to think that opposing defense's fourth cornerback is going to have to cover either Emeka Egbuka or Jalen McMillan.
This is another thing too, man. Jason Light kind of mentioned this. If you want to get 4 wideout sets going on to get everyone on the field, we might see a little bit more of that this season too, right? Because that wasn't really the case last year when wide receiver 4 was Trey Palmer. And now that it's either Jalen McMillan or Emeka Egbuka, maybe you just want to get all those guys on the field. And the inner 4 verts exists in all of us, Caleb. There's an inner 4 verts. There's an instinct that you just want to call it, right? You want to call it 4 verts. So maybe we'll see some more 4 wide receiver looks. Maybe that's Josh Grizzard's big thing. Last year, Liam Cohen's innovation was the pony package, right? The 2 running backs in the field at the same time. You had Bucky and Rachaad White on the field.
And then even kind of transformed from that. So whenever Chris went out, Cade Otton was just like.
Exactly. So being adaptable is a huge part of being a great offensive coordinator. And Liam Cohen did that, came in with the Rams 12 personnel or 11 personnel Rams zone running scheme and changed to gap when he realized that fit the Bucs offensive line better. Went to 12 personnel, once he realized about the tight ends and wideouts he had. Went to 21 when he needed to make sure there's good pass protection to get 2 weapons on the field. That sort of thing is what's most impressive about Liam Cohen to me. It's his ability to take what he has, not be staunch on it, not think, oh, this is my way, it's going to work. Not have that ego that some offensive coordinators have that you kind of have to a degree, right? But he's always been so adaptable. And if I hope anything, is that Josh Grizzard can really retain that sort of thing. And he has that bag, right? Liam Cohen's bag was crazy. He was always reaching in there. It was deep. It was deep. It was deep. So is Grizzard's bag deep? We'll see. It's one of the more exciting parts, I think, of this offseason and going into the season is this unknown, which some Bucs fans are treating as if he's just going to be Liam Cohen again.
Which I think is why it's been so not talked about. Like everybody just expects, Dave did it. Okay, Leo did it. What's to expect that Josh isn't going to be able to do it, But he does kind of carry that same moxie, that same kind of character. Like, I know I'm good at what I do, but I'm not afraid to go away from some of the things that I know if it's not working, I'm not just going to kind of, beat it. I'm going to be able to change it up. Liam obviously did that way more than Canales when Canales was here, but I mean, I think it's so interesting. It's just so quiet. Nobody's talking about Josh Grizzard being, his first year as an offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers. And maybe it is due to all the weapons the Bucs have. And they just ultimately think that it is going to be just an easy go. It is going to be an expectation of, will we expect the Bucs to have a top 10 offense? And even if they're like 11 or 12, like, is it really a big deal because their defense should improve? And it's not really going to be as glaring of how many points the Bucs have to put up week in and week out. And maybe that's a thought process as well. But I think it'll be interesting as kind of training camp, starts to unfold. What are we starting to see? Because that was last year. The whole River got excited, like super excited last year about at snap motion.
I love at snap motion. I love it. It's the hallmark of the modern NFL offense, Caleb.
So here,
don't play with me.
here in a few weeks, we're gonna get Rivers' excitement level
I'm
jumping
gonna
up.
watch. They're gonna be running, and the ball is gonna be snapped at the same time, and it's gonna make me go crazy. It's gonna make me go crazy, and especially from a Mike McDaniel disciple. We might get even more of it. We might get even more of it, Caleb.
I can just imagine like sitting down at the end zone, and you're sitting over there on the sideline and just like immediately just looking over.
It makes me. It's enough to make a grown man cry. It really is. I'm very excited for it. But I think McDaniel's offense is kind of. It's interesting because I think McDaniel might be using a little bit too much of it. His offense is very like eye candy based and gimmicky sometimes, and I think there's a good balance to find there. So I would love to see what he takes from that experience working under him and under Liam Cohen and really developing his own identity on offense. It's going to be exciting.
Absolutely, and I'm excited for it too. So don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to downgrade the whole situation and be like, oh, it's going to be poo-poo or poo-poo anybody's insignificance of it up to this point. But speaking of training camp, River, there is rookie mini camp that is starting on Friday. You're going to be there, correct?
I will be. I will be.
So River's going to be there having full coverage. I'm not sure if Logan's going to make it over there. JC, I'm sure will be over there a few days as well. There are a couple of our guys here at BucsGameday, but obviously we know the rookies that were brought in through the draft. But honestly, there's a slew of guys brought in through the undrafted market as well, like a ton of them. From Shiloh Sanders to Desmond Watson. You've got couple big offensive linemen that could potentially fill a role for the Buccaneers. Who are we looking forward to, and who has a chance? Who has the best chance to make the team? I know we touched on this a little bit last week, but where are you on that? Are you still sticking with kind of the same guy? I know you said Shiloh last week, and
I mentioned it. I floated it.
Like,
I floated it.
Man, he's terrible.
I floated it.
Everybody was on River.
Listen, I didn't say he was going to be playing safety. That's a whole different conversation.
That's so true. So true.
I'm talking special teams, baby. Special teams make special teams. It's interesting because I think safety is the weakest room that the Bucs have right now. They've got Tyreek Smith there, which is good because he's going to move from nickel back to safety. You're going to have Jacob Parrish play where Tyreek Smith played. But beyond that, it's Kayvon Merriweather, who's played decent in spurts, and then it's nobody else.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as playing safety is concerned, Marshall's J.J. Roberts, another undrafted free agent, just does everything that Shiloh Sanders does much better. So at that point, that's who it could be. But if there's anyone that can sneak onto the roster, it's UDFA. The Bucs have been using a lot of UDFAs recently and getting them on the roster for better or for worse. Might be hard this year. Might be tough this year. There's a lot of rookies coming in on defense. A lot of already established guys on offense coming in. They brought back the whole offense, plus a few guys like Luka and Johnson. So, yeah, I think Roberts has a chance based on, special teams usage and being a safety. And then curious to see what happens with Tez. Tez Johnson, little bit slow, plays faster game speed wise, very agile in college. He's going to make the team. It's going to be with kick returning and punt returning, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm interested to see if he does make it. He's a 7th round pick. It's hard with Jason Light's guys because Jason Light likes to sign all of his draft picks to the roster of the practice squad. Like he never cuts later draft guys. So you would almost come to expect to keep him at this point. But it's for most teams, 6th and 7th round is not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee. So love to see how that goes, how those guys play. I really want to see how Tez looks in comparison to the rookies he's playing in rookie minicamp because that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of these guys are going to be fun to watch. It's just fun to see these new guys. Guys you haven't really watched extensive amount of snaps from, or watch them and how they handle themselves on the field, from the sidelines, how they take coaching,
Yep.
how they're learning the playbook, especially, transferring over from probably a more simplistic playbook at the collegiate level at the respective universities compared to what they're learning in the NFL. It might still be,
Yeah.
simplified, or people like to call it dumbed down in certain sort of ways, but it's still a lot more complex and a lot more plays, from what I understand as well, than it is there
Oh
at
yeah.
the level.
I mean, the
So
college level, you're looking at a sign on the sideline, right? And
yeah,
then you see that clip of John Gruden and Jackson Dart when he said, "What's your pre-snap cadence?" and Dart clapped, and that was it. So John Gruden was just baffled. By the way, he was flabbergasted.
he was like that's
That's it, and that's the thing too. A lot of these college guys, they're coming to the NFL. They're gonna get Josh Gazard's introductory crash course immediately, right? So it's guys who can handle that and guys who can't, we'll see, and it'll be fun. I'm excited.
Yes, it's that welcome to the NFL. First, welcome to the NFL moment.
And most
You're
importantly, it's football.
right,
Football is being played on Friday in some capacity. That's
which
nice.
nobody can complain about at the end of the day, right? But
Oh yeah,
not these guys' first welcome to the NFL moment, but ultimately their first time getting a glimpse of what it could be like. Obviously, when games get played and somebody
yeah.
takes a hit for the first time. Okay, got it. Like this is what we're talking about. But I had mentioned him last week. I like Jake Majors. I think he's probably a very high potential guy, to potentially make the roster. I know we're a little bit thin there, along the offensive line, especially at the center position.
Yeah.
Not super thin by any means, because I love the depth that we have, but had a couple guys leaving free agency, didn't really do much other than bring back Bredesen, and Sua Peta re-signed too. So that was good to have him back. But other than Jake Majors, he played mainly center there at Texas, so would be good to have a backup for Grant Barton if ever needed. Most likely, probably be on the practice squad for the time being. Open up another slot on the the everyday roster, if you will.
Yep.
And then a guy that they paid pretty heftily. You got to think, why pay him this much money if you're not really going to do anything with him? And that's Chukwuma, which is an interesting guy in and of himself because he picked up football very, very late in his career. Looks like River might be having some technical issues, so I can just keep going on and on again until River comes back. But yeah, River's going to be there at One Buck Place. Welcome back. River's going to be back at a One Buck Place.
I will be.
First time since the NFL draft when he was there, for rookie minicamp. The guys are really excited to get that in the way. One last thing while we're talking about camps. Any other trade candidates out there, or cut candidates out there for the Buccaneers, potentially, save some cap space, potentially make a trade later down the line, or hit something in free agency that they really like, and of course be in need as well. Obviously, I think there's been some names floated around, but go ahead and get them if you have any, River.
Well, I can think of the one name you're thinking about, and we can talk about that. The thing about Jamel Dean is that the Bucs did this already last year. They took Carlton Davis, who was probably their best corner, shipped him off to Detroit in a trade deal, got some return for him, and then they were in cornerback hell for the whole year because Dean kept getting hurt. McCollum got hurt. He had to go back and forth. The secondary was ravaged. I don't think they want that to happen again. On the flip side, you did draft an outside corner with your second round pick in Benjamin Morrison, right? So what does he do? You're going to have him and Dean. They both can't be on the field really at the same time. And, any inside guys, pair to take it nickel. Then you have Tyke split the safety. You can do some stuff like that too. So something's got to give there, right? So Dean, looks good, plays better than Morrison does in practice and training camp, gets the job. Morrison's waiting in the wings, ready to step in. Or B, Morrison looks really, really good. And then if you're going to play Morrison instead of Dean, then what do? You probably don't keep Dean around, right? He's really expensive. So you try and get a trade done for him. So I don't anticipate Dean going this year, but the Morrison pick kind of makes something like that a possible situation.
Yeah,
before the season starts. I think.
Absolutely more realistic than not realistic. It's more. You can see it happening more so than it just being a fictional storyline that is kind of being tossed out there. But outside of Dean, it's really hard to see the Bucs cutting anybody of really big note. I mean,
I agree.
You can look at the wide receiver room and be like, okay, some of those guys could be, tiptoeing the line on being cuts, but they're really not going to save you a whole lot later down the line because you're not really paying those guys a whole lot of money, other than your top guys, which I mean, two of them are going to be on a rookie deal, and the two of them are making pretty average money for the production that they put up year in and year out for you. So not really heavily anywhere else, in my opinion, either, other than Jamel Dean. But I agree. I don't think Morrison's going to come in and be that guy, right off the bat. I think he's still got some time to kind of get 110% healthy to where he wants to be after getting that work done on the second work done he's had done on his hip for that condition that he has. But that all signs point to being good. He looked good in his rookie showcase or whatever it was that he put on privately with the NFL scouts and coaches and whatnot. But I think it's going to take some time for him to kind of get back into the juice, into the flow of things, get up to speed to where he was when he was playing at an all team first American level, early on in his Notre Dame career. So I mean, teaching him, bringing him up slowly alongside Dean, giving him some snaps. If Dean gets hurt, you become a full-time guy right over across from Zion McCollum. So I think that's kind of where we're at. I don't think the Bucs really cut anybody. If they do, it's not going to be anybody really noteworthy that it's going to be like, oh, okay, well, shocker, like in that sort of stance. But any last conversations that we want to have? Any last comments or questions that you have for me? I know I missed all day today, guys, so I feel so bad. I feel like I got to give River.
No, you got it.
I got to
got it.
River real quick before we sign off.
This is what we're talking about. We hit on a few good things, and we're ready for rookie minicamp. We're ready for football. We'll get some articles out for you guys from the observations from minicamp for sure. Talk about who shined. Last year, Jalen McMillan was the big camp, darling. Ended up working out good in the end. Looked a little bit rocky those first few games. Ended up fulfilling its prophecy. So see who that is. See how guys like Tez Johnson and Emeka Egbuka will look. Even Shiloh Sanders. We'll see how he looks too. A lot of stuff to do. So just keep sticking with us here, and we'll have all that coverage for you and more here on Bucs Game Day. Go to the website. Keep up with this podcast. We'll be doing more podcasts throughout the off season. Once training camp starts, it's going to be a lot of content for you guys. So I'm really excited to get to it and get back to football.
Yeah, absolutely flowing. And as Shiloh Sanders says, I'm coming, Tampa.
Absolutely.
And that's what River is saying to the fans, the crew.
That's right. That's right.
He is coming, and he will be there to bring you the best coverage from one Buccaneer place starting this Friday. So stay tuned in to BucsGameday.com, whether it's here via the podcast, as River mentioned. Head over to YouTube, subscribe, like, all that good jazz. Head over to BucsGameday.com, where River has been crushing it the past 2 days, holding it down for a lot of us that have had to miss time for certain instances, including myself.
Been doing my best.
We appreciate you, man. You're the lead guy. You're the one who holds us accountable as well. We really do appreciate that. But with that being said, guys, we appreciate you tuning in tonight. And as always, fire the cannons.